Hello, this is Ruby from the Useful Journal. This review today is the Takkti journal, and it's going to be a bit of a long one today because there's lots of features. The Takkti journal is made by Maylin in Austria, and I've talked a few times about journals needing a point of difference because the market's so big now, and this one definitely has an edge in that respect because there are multiple special features that will appeal to a wide range of users. This particular journal is constructed in Croatia. It's distributed from Austria. She does have other journals that are made elsewhere. This is a limited edition version. Hopefully she re-releases it because it is absolutely beautiful. There are still a handful left, so getting quick, but her other journals are just as beautiful, and the main part of this review, of course, is about the paper, which is standard across all her covers. So, Takkti has a website, an Etsy, Facebook and Instagram. They do ship internationally. It comes as a hardcover, and you can either get the inside bound into the journal like any other journal, or you can get the one I got, which means you can put in whichever booklets you like inside, and there's a choice of different ranges. You can get 240 page one colour, or you can get two separate booklets, and I chose to get one in black and one in white, and they're 120 pages each. The main version she's got, which seems to be her long-term line, is called the Architecture Collection, and it has a cork cover, and it's actually won design awards. First up, and I don't usually do this, I usually talk about environmental and social stuff at the end of the review, but this is outstanding, so I wanted to talk about it up front. First of all, as a nice touch, Maylin buys a tree for every item that you buy from her store. I liked it so much that I started doing it for everyone that subscribes to my website. So if you subscribe to my website, I buy a tree. This is a natural material. This is a linen cover. Her main line is cork, which is also a natural material. The ribbon around the journal is actually recycled PET bottles, plastic bottles, which is really cool. I've never seen ribbon recycled from plastic bottles, but there you go. And that feels like a normal satin ribbon, so that's a nice touch. Another thing she does is a percentage of all her profits go to a charity each year. She won a German Eco Design Award, and that was for her architecture collection. There are cork covers. Added to that is when you get your journal, the packaging has no plastic. It's simply wrapped in tissue paper, and it's tied up with an additional length of recycled ribbon. And it's beautifully wrapped as well, so that's a little bonus. And she has forestry sustainable certified paper, like from a sustainable forest. Now, features. Wait until you see this. In this particular version, which I've got, and bound version is just like any other journal, this is the interchangeable version. You buy a cover, and it's up to you what booklets you put in. And what I especially like about it is if you were a long-term Takkti user, you could just buy new booklets, put them into your cover, and you're also saving on the environment because you're only using one cover. So it's just less materials that go to waste. So the booklet slides in. I'll just start with the white one. The booklet, it has a slip here, and the booklet cover, which is slightly heavier than the paper in the journal, just slides in like that. So I'll show you with the black booklet because it'll stand out more. But you can basically slide into the pocket in the book, and you just slide it in. It's slightly tricky because it is designed to be a firm fit. It's easier to lie it flat. Once it's in, it basically sits like that. So you open your journal and it goes like that. Something I do want to note is when you have both spines on the inside, it's a bit of a snug fit. If you alternate them or have them both on the outside, it seems to be fine. The journal has no pen loop, no pocket, although you do have these sleeves, you could probably tuck things in there. It has no elastic, but it does have this ribbon. The ribbon, I'm not sure, I suppose I'm just going to have to tuck it away when I'm not using it, which you could do just in the spine, between your books maybe, tuck it down the spine, and that probably acts as a ribbon while you're working on it because it also doesn't have ribbons. Maylene does suggest that when you have your packaging and it comes with those those ribbons are actually finer, and she tells you, she's got a little blog on her website showing you how to turn them into bookmarks. There are no marked pages, there are no page numbers. It does have the dot grid, but there's no index. There's not even a, hey, this is my journal page. I think it's partly because people do turn them around and use them in different ways, so it probably wouldn't be practical to have marked pages. It has 27 by 41 dots, so 27 is pretty average. 41 is quite long, and that's achieved by having a line fairly close to the page. But I will say this, the dots are consistently spaced, so they never get too close to the edge of the page. So I think actually in the case of this journal, those lines that are quite close to the edge, maybe 3 millimeters from each end, are usable if you really want to. The lines don't go too close to the middle, so that's also usable. They do lie flat, they're very good at that, and the dots are well aligned. There's never more than 1 millimeter change. The other thing I want to note, and this is starting to pop up in more journals, there is a mid-page marker, so half-page marker. The joins at the binding are very good. So we have quite small booklets. There's no rise. You can't see the gaps between the books where they're joined at the spine. It's not tearing. The page doesn't lift. It's very, very good. Excellent, actually. Okay, let's talk paper. The white paper is 135 GSM. It's an ivory colour, so it's not creamy, but it's not white. It's acid-free, and as I said, it's sustainable paper. So I have done 2 test pages. My title page is just my name, and I've used Tombow markers, and I've used the black one to really try and and I've tried to colour quite heavily to really test the paper, and there's a couple of metallic markers as well. On this page, I've done a watercolour using quite a lot of water, and then I've got my pen test page, my standard one that I use in all my white page journals. So 135 GSM, and there is no ghosting, no bleed from all the pens that I usually test with, which is remarkable. I even, with the extra fine Sharpie, the ultra fine Sharpie pen, which is an alcohol-based pen, still very, very little ghosting. So this is really impressive. The reason I think you get that good result on such a lightweight paper, well, it's a medium weight paper, let's be fair, is because it's coated, and unfortunately, like all coated journals, you win on the having less ghosting and bleed, but you do tend to get a little bit more smudging. So this is a journal you would have to be careful with smudging your hand after you'd written, because with a Pigma Micron pen, you get smudging up to 12 to 15 seconds afterwards. Pencil and eraser, pretty standard. There's a very, very light shadow, so it's barely noticeable. The best results for white are always on ivory paper, and this one is no different. The best results were with the white Jelly Roll and Signo pens, and it's actually pretty good for the correction tape as well. The paper is smooth, but I've used a medium nib Metropolitan pen, fountain pen, and minimal feathering. Like, I'm talking only just showing, and it really doesn't detract from the performance of the paper or your enjoyment of using a fountain pen in this journal at all. It's smooth to write with, it's very, very good, but I can't say it's perfect. Now the dots are just, I've given them an average because on the second coloured pen you could still just see the dots, but it is on the lighter side of average. The watercolour results were very good. For a 135 GSM journal, I'm very impressed. It's very similar to what I've been getting on 160 GSM. I will note that because of the coating on the paper, the watercolour does look a little bit flat, which is common. The same thing happened in my Leuchtturm journal. But it blended well, the colours showed up well. There's very little crinkling of the page, so that's great. And I'll show you with my heavier watercolour that I did on my test page. So I've used quite a few layers of colour, I've used some darker colours, and there is no ghost or bleed on the other side. No colour has come through to that page or the following page. It's just a slight crinkle, which is quite similar to what I get on my 160 GSM journals. So very impressed, very happy with how it performed for watercolour. Now to the black paper. I had to come up with a whole new test for black paper because I've never done it before. So as I said, this is 120 GSM. I didn't do additional pages because I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that this one will be sitting second in my journal, so the title page is in my other half. So I have come up with a new little pen test, and basically my aim was to try all the brands of pens and styles of pens that I have that would work on black paper. So of course, which everyone knows that's tried black paper, the best results were with the Jelly Roll 10. Any kind of glitter pen didn't perform well. The glitter rubs off, and actually some of the word rubs off, so really poor result for those ones. I was surprised that the Pilot G2 pen didn't work very well. It's started looking good and then it kind of got a bit of a scratchy finish. The Pilot Friction was a bit the same. Very good results with my Signo Angelic, Signo Metal and the Hybrid Gel pen, just not the Hybrid Metal. The Posca glitter pen was a bit like the other glitter pens, didn't perform well. The Pilot Pintor is a paint pen and that had a very good result, as did the Posca pens, but all three of them do give that paint pen kind of finish. Unless you go over it again with another coat, you have kind of a transparent patches on it. The Signo 0.7 pen was a bit scratchy, but it still shows up okay. I tested eraser on this and it erased beautifully, so I'm actually giving that a perfect score. I can't see any kind of mark there at all where I've erased it. Instead of whiteout, I did dark out. So I used a black coloured pencil and that actually covered up reasonably well. And I also used a black Posca pen, paint pen, and that also worked well. So there's a couple of options. I think anything that had a fairly thick finish would cover it up fine. So no need to run out there and try and find a black correction pen. I was super excited that colour pencils worked. Tends to be the lighter colours, so you do have to test which colours will show up, but it means that I've got all sorts of opportunities to colour with my coloured pencils. And I tested my Coliro, so these are my Coliro gold and silver metallics, which I love, and they've shown up beautifully, and there's a nice bit of glow there. What I am super excited about, I have never used gouache before, and I tested this journal because obviously watercolour isn't working. I've heard a lot of people saying online, oh, don't really like blackout journals because I can't use my watercolours. You can use gouache and in different heaviness, so like this is still a little bit transparent here because I've used a bit more water. I've never used it before, so I'm excited. It's a lovely bright picture. Might be a different style to watercolour, but it still means that you can paint in this journal. It's only 120 GSM. I used a fair bit of water with that gouache, and there is very little page crinkle again, so once again, very impressed. Look at that, it's pretty good. So to wrap up, I think for environment focus, I would give this 4.5 stars. I'd give it 5 if it had recycled paper, but it doesn't. 4.5 stars is excellent. It's a huge bonus that both types of paper, both colour, both weight papers are good for watercolour and gouache, because I love using them in my journals. And the owner is lovely to deal with, very good customer service. You are buying directly from her, not from a secondary seller, so you get to deal with her. This journal is beautiful. I can't wait to use it. I highly recommend it. I really like what she's trying to do. Have a bit of fun, try 2 different coloured pages. It's not as big a threat as getting a whole journal just in black, so have some fun. Give it a go and look out for, I'm excited to see what designs she comes up with next. Thank you.